Hi, I'm Jason Tatge, CEO and co-founder of Farmobile, and today we're here to talk with our new Vice President of Business Development and Sustainability, Bradford Warner, and we're going to figure out what the heck that means. Let's talk about it. All right, Bradford, you've been around here a couple months now. What is it that you actually do here?
Sure. So there's been a lot of motivation in the back of my mind, Jason, for a lot of years. And you and I have talked about this for the last couple of years, which is that we have a pretty big social responsibility in agriculture, which is the ability to find a way to feed, if you believe the global harvest numbers, somewhere around 9.6 billion people by 2035. And do it in a way that we're not going to destroy ecosystems and still respect the economics of farmers. And today we're still not on pace to do that. So if we're going to improve how we do that, we have to think about what's the right way for supply chains to collaborate in such a way that the right information, the right data is there, that rewards a producer, rewards a processor, and helps incentivize people towards those great continuous improvement measures that everybody talks about, but we aren't really quite sure how to deliver on yet.
You know, since we started Farmobile, I think I've been on well over probably 300 different farms here. Mm-hmm. And, you know, these people are, they're just good people. And if there's one problem that we have is telling the story of those people, right? There's a few voices out there that talk really loud and get all the credit. But when you look at what these families are doing in the terms of being good stewards of the land, you know, there's not one of them that I've been to where I've thought, ooh, you know, and that's the common, I think that's kind of unfortunately, it's the common thread I think that a lot of people think of. Right. And so if there's anything we can do to help tell that story a little bit better, right? To help make that connection a little bit better as to how things are grown and what practices are used and how this stuff is actually not a negative to the environment, but a positive in the form of cover crops and a lot of the stuff that we're doing out there to be pretty innovative. That can do nothing but not only help the image of the American farmer, but also just help bridge this gap between the food consumers and the people who create the food.
Correct. Well, Jason, I think you pointed a problem that's endemic right now within agricultural supply chains, but maybe most acute within the food supply chains inside that, which is there's sort of a schism between consumers becoming more educated about the food they want to consume, but not always having the best access of information that does speak all the way back to the good work that happens by most of America's farmers today. So I think there's a role within those of us that are trying to not only find better economic outcomes for the producer, but also better environmental outcomes and provide that in such a way that consumers are going to be able to see that information. Information, though, is power. And right now, as an industry, there's a lot of data out there, but there's not a lot of good information. It's good, usable information that I've found inside agriculture compared to other industries I've worked in. How do we fix that? I think at one level, we have to get a good, better, fundamental, data-driven picture of what goes on the farm. So it's not he said, she said with that. We have really good evidence of the great stewardship that is going on and where there are opportunities to improve. Those opportunities to improve, though, need to be taken in the context of how does it still continue to improve grower profitability, while at the same time we're also assessing ways to improve environmental outcomes long term. So when you throw a term out there like regenerative ag, that term can be very helpful if we put it in the context that we just talked about. So that data layer, that's a big part of why I came here, has been missing in the equation, right? We've had a lot of folks who are very well-intentioned but very removed from farms, very removed from agriculture today, right? The vast majority of people don't even have direct connection to someone who actually farms. And so to have that policy side be broken from what's actually happening there, we have to have the data that will bring people together to unify that. And then I think this positive karma on consumers wanting to understand where their food comes, wanting to understand how it was sustainably sourced, will be a lot easier to do because we'll have quantitative measures about what that means versus a lot of qualitative opinions.
I think the good news is that we've got products today, and Farmobile, our puck and our data engine, I think we have low-cost products to start to track that information today.
Yes.
And I think that's something that it's taken a while for the industry to get to, right? Not everybody can afford to go out and buy a new $350,000 machine that has all the electronics on it,
Right.
but we've been able to figure out ways to create an aftermarket product that is pretty dang good at collecting some of this information, at
Right.
least the information that's requested
Right.
on the buying side of things.
Right. So, I mean, you know my history before agriculture. I did a lot in wireless infrastructure, and so understood the potential of machine-to-machine technology, to your point, cost effectively get a better automated data supply into industries that had been using self-reported or orphan data. Number two, from a supply chain perspective, you have to do things in such a way that rewards everybody up and down the supply chain. And then number three, you'd say, well, gosh, if we have machine-to-machine technology that works, do we have the right data warehouse to store this in a flexible way so that the grower can choose where and when that data gets shared and then is shared with the right collaborators? So in this industry, right, there are some really good farm management systems out there. There's great precision ag technology being developed, but they all, in my mind, still needed that fundamental data utility that they could pull from, and we could not continue to live on self-reported data and expect to advance the game. So that's the excitement I hold in terms of Farmobile being that great collaborator with all these other players in ag.
I think a lot of people don't quite understand the exciting opportunity around being able to keep really strong records on the practices you use to grow that crop, putting it into your own bins on farm, and being able to ship that product directly then to the end users to really create additional value for your own operation, because you took the time to curate the records required to tell a better story again about how that crop was grown.
Yeah, I think there's a variety of opportunities that sustainability rides right along with. To your point, all of us want to find a way to how do you make a commodity not a commodity, a mentor mindset at one point. And in this aspect, a producer should be able to say that number two corn is number two corn, but if I can now justify how it was produced and with what inputs and what ratio of inputs to outputs, now it has an opportunity to be viewed differently in the supply chain. And we now have the technology, not just starting at the field level, but going further down the supply chain to provide some level of identity preservation to what that crop is. So it's a huge opportunity for our industry, I think, to provide, to your point, better custody of where our food ingredients are coming from, and then how we continue to improve how they're produced. Again, if we can show that in a very objective way, in a data-driven way, that has an opportunity, I think, to help everybody in the supply chain.
So one of the challenges I see when I just talk about, you know, your expertise and experiences, what's the difference between sustainability and traceability and identity preservation? And there's all these different, all these different concepts that are being thrown around, because I think a lot of people hear that and they just kind of go, ugh.
Yeah. Understandably, right? I mean, from a supply chain, those are all very intertwined subjects. I think if you take it back to fundamentally, what do people need to care about it, all of those subjects are very risk-producing if they don't have good ground truth data about where a crop originated from. And that's often what we don't have when we talk about these measures. Whether you're talking about traceability domestically or internationally, if you still don't know how it was actually produced, every other claim on that is kind of risky to make. So I think the emerging belief would be, now if we can get real automated data about how this crop was produced and then maintain the custody of that data, guess what? Now we have the ability to really call something traceability. If they've got a good farm management system that's helping them from an accounting standpoint, and they've got good ground truth data on what actually happened, it will get there. This benefit, this is not theoretical, right? Other industries already enjoy this today. Even if we operated a small regional airline, right, we would demand good data coming back on where our planes were, how much fuel they used, how full those planes were. That would directly impact our profitability every day. It should be no different that a producer should have access to that every moment. And then it helps find, again, that nexus between what's sustainable and what's also profitable.
Great. Well, thank you for our discussion today, Bradford. Look forward to
Thank you.
the next few years.
You got it.